Hi everybody, and welcome back to my podcast channel. Do hope you enjoy these ones, and do make sure you subscribe to my other podcast with Alana Mercer over on Hard Truth. We'll be discussing Joe Biden and Afghanistan in the next day or two, so do look out for that one over there. Also look out for my website, A Tangled Web, which is full of all kinds of interesting stories and links. Never mind alt news media. So much content out there trying to fight back. Now, a lot of people have talked about over the last couple of decades the dreadful Taliban, and you remember when they seized control and how they blew up the I think it was Buddha statues, demolishing centuries of culture in their barbaric haste to impose their own narrative. Remember that? Let's talk about Plymouth instead, shall we? And in particular, let's talk about Sir Francis Drake. Now, I'm sure you all know who Sir Francis Drake is. Obviously, a legendary explorer. However, there is a situation which is developed in his hometown of Tavistock in West Devon. And Sir Francis' statue is going to get a plaque hung around it, talking about his horrific slave trading expeditions. Now, the interesting thing about that is it's been backed by one person and it's received 89 objections. But it's still going ahead because officials have decided this is what they need to do. They need to show their embrace of all the wrongs that were done many centuries ago. So there's this. So in Tavistock anyway, there's a sculpture of Sir Francis Drake, and this was reviewed by local council officials. If ever you want to be worried, just hear the words local council officials and you know you're going to be in trouble. In the wake of the Black Lives Matter protests. Now a sign that claims that Sir Francis brutally attacked African communities has been authorized. Of course, Drake, known for circumnavigating the world, from 1577 to 1580, he defeated the Spanish Armada in 1588. Well, wasn't that a bit racist? I mean, how dare he actually fight against, the multicultural people from Spain? Oh my God, he was such a racist bigot. The plan for the new plaque was raised by the Tavistock Town Council and it's been approved. So despite the fact that 89 people objected to it, one person was in favor of it, it's going ahead. So that is the cultural demolition that's going on down in Tavistock, the birthplace of this possibly one of the most famous explorers, the most famous Englishman there's ever been. He sailed around the world. He helped this country fight back against Spain when they sought to conquer us. Now people say, "Oh, but hang on, he was a horrific slave trader." Oh no, hang on a second, guys. It's like this. Let me explain this one to the slow of thinking. And here's how it is. There's never been a point in history up until since post-industrial revolution where there hasn't been slave trading. It's just that simple. And Africans are particularly enthusiastic about it. African chieftains were very happy to slave their own people in exchange for the loot. So if you're going to, we have to dismiss just carte blanche, if you'll pardon the racist implication, the whole, but what about slavery? This is the sort of, this hatred of our past. It's something that seems to be emblematic of the modern liberal. They hate everything that their country has achieved. So they hate the fact that, for example, Sir Francis Drake was an extremely famous, effective sea captain, admiral, a man who made a huge contribution, which indeed Queen Elizabeth the First recognised at the time to this country. And they hate that. And they hate that. So what they'll do is they'll say, "Oh yeah, but he engaged in awful, as in this case, horrendous slave trading." Well, so did many others. And also, by the way, lefties, it was Britain that stopped the transatlantic slave trade. It was in actual fact, if you think about it, it was Sir Francis Drake's descendants in terms of in the Royal Navy who actually put an end to slave trading. So actually, if you want to make it if you really want to go down this route, you've got to put a plaque underneath it saying Sir Francis Drake, Saviour of the United Kingdom, renowned innovator in terms of global exploration, and also helped bring about that which became the Royal Navy, which ended slavery. So do shut up, lefties, and your endless whinging. And as for these town council officials, by the way, here's the other point. As for these town council officials, which are going along with the defacement and the debasement of their own culture, they need to be voted out of office. They need to be challenged. The people of Tavistock and elsewhere should not lie down and blithely accept this debasement of our culture in order to virtue signal to Black Lives Matters. Listen, if Black Lives Matters really cares so much about Black people, maybe they need to go back to their to those in Africa who traded Black people. Remember, African slave traders and chieftains were up to their necks in not just, by the way, the transatlantic slave trade, but also, of course, the Arab slave trade to the east as well, which carried on long after the Royal Navy had ended the transatlantic slave trade. So nobody and if you want to, by the way, all of you bleeding heart liberals, if you're really so bothered about the slave trade, why don't you have a word with China and what they're doing to the Uyghur Muslims and other minorities in China? Why don't you do that? Because you're not interested in doing that. What your agenda is the same as the Taliban. You are the woke Taliban. You want to destroy and bring down, literally and metaphorically, our culture, our statues, our history, and we're not going to have it. Thanks for listening.